Good evening. My name is Matthew Hale. This is my final exam for English 1102, Section OB, semester of fall 2024. To begin, so the major concepts that I've learned throughout this semester were mainly theming and citation were a big part in that I needed to learn to use all of the text rather than just certain parts to support a thesis, to support conflict, to support my overall objective opinion on the works that we went through from um, narrative and fiction all the way through poetry. I've learned to properly cite themes and literary devices that help enhance the writing in a way to support the theme. And I've mainly probably the most important skill I've learned throughout this semester was the ability to read, annotate, cite, and use the works to actually learn from it rather than just finish an assignment. And aside from just generally becoming better at seeing themes and learning how to cite and learning how to use the text to my advantage, um, it is conflict. And I really learned how to recognize a conflict and see what a conflict is and what a conflict isn't. And that conflict is between uh, two driving forces, and they both must have motivation behind them that makes the friction into fire. And aside from that, the same thing applies to both of these in that I had to learn how to use text um, and use that to analyze how it moves the plot and uh, also what is not conflict, right? If it's a conflict and it doesn't have um, characters, then it's not a conflict, right? So moving on. The most difficult aspect that I had throughout this course was organization. I struggled with organizing my work in the way that my professor wanted it done, and I understand that it should be done the way that your professor wants it to be done, but that was obviously just a learning curve for me. I've never had a professor that wanted sentences in certain ways and wanted phrases in certain ways to illustrate the conflict, illustrate the plot, to illustrate that the characters are who they are in a certain way. Make it easier for him to read, make it easier for him to grade, etc. And then time spent studying, it actually kind of varied throughout the course in the beginning when I was spending significantly less time because I wasn't quite sure of the requirements that I had. I was not completely positive in the work I was doing. I was really just trying to get the work done, per se, versus towards about a week or two before midterm until the end of the course. I started working, spending hours and hours and hours every week reading, reviewing the lecture, and writing. So I'd say probably the least I spent in the beginning of the course in the first probably 4 weeks. I spent probably between 2 and 4 hours a week, but then it got up to easily 8 hours a week once I had my final major paper and this final exam right now. And surprising to learn, poetry. I discovered that I have a love of poetry, and that poetry is probably my favorite, I guess, genre of work to study, especially just being introduced with Emily Dickinson. I know she's totally, I guess, like mainstream in the art, in the poetic art world, but I didn't know that I loved poetry until this fall. And comments, I really the only thing that I would say is that the credit weighting, I wasn't completely sure in the beginning of in the context of what was required of me. I did not understand until week 5 or 6 that if it wasn't 100, it would be 0. I didn't understand that. So obviously, that was a learning curve I had to go through. But that's how the way the professor has this course, and I think that's totally valid. If that's the way he wants to run things, that's the way he wants to run things, and we all need to um, give the work that he expects. And kind of piggybacking on that same point, the rubrics, the assignment rubrics that we had in D2L, they weren't perfectly clear to me in that for going back to the way to phrase and organize my writing is that that wasn't quite as clear in the rubric and in the expectations of the assignment. That was something that I had to go speak with my professor separately for, and make sure that he had it in the conflict is between blank and blank. The key elements are this, and those just weren't in the assignment information that was given, and that was just something I had to go out of my way to talk to my professor for. But anyways, it was a really great semester. I really enjoyed the class overall, and I think I learned a lot, and I think it was really wonderful.